Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to see the faces I'm seeing on this call tonight. My name is Michelle Davidson, for those that don't know me personally. I have had the privilege of being in the mortgage and financial industry for the past 20 years of my life. And I just felt such a need to have a conversation tonight about the wealth mindset because I realized it was just 2020 that I realized that I just in 2020 got delivered from a mindset of poverty. And I really wanted to dive into what that looked like for me. It may resonate with some of the people on this call tonight. I'm someone that came to this country. My mother and I came as undocumented immigrants to New York City when I was 4 years old. So throughout my life, I lived in housing projects. I lived in situations where doors were closed because of a lack of money. We were in circumstances because we didn't have enough. And so, even when the time came where education was there, training was there, and it was time to move up in life, I had a problem with elevation. I had a problem with being able to plan and elevate to certain levels because I was always afraid that I would end up in the situation that I came out of. And so I found myself almost entrapped in my thinking. So a lot of the things when we think about currently, even our mindset regarding entrepreneurship versus nonprofit, you'll see so many um, advertisements about nonprofit organizations or how do you establish one. When the time comes to how do you produce your own revenues, it tends to be a little more scarier because now you have to make it happen. Or when you start thinking about your children, how you would like them educated, maybe where you want them to live, maybe the lifestyle you want to have later on, maybe the contributions you want to give to your church or to an organization or to life or to your community, you're starting now worrying about how do I take care of me? How do I take care of my responsibilities? And then how do I also have enough to do these things? And so in 2020, I was someone, my husband and I, we did pretty well. We tried to save where we could, but we were just not wise, understanding the economics of our day, understanding how to put things together, understanding how to really build a life intentionally based on what we wanted to see and in our own situation. And so the speaker tonight, I happened to catch her on a Zoom, and when I caught her on a Zoom, she said certain things. And I'm like, I got to speak to this woman. So I messaged her and said, I need to connect with you. And I connected with her, and just her words of wisdom helped guide my family so much that our zip code, our life in just the last 12 months have had such a major shift. So she gave relevant information, but what she brought for me and my family was revelation of what was possible and how to conduct ourselves in a way to leverage opportunity. So when you think about things like tax credits, when you think about all the funds that are being given out for the government, how does this become a step up and not just a hand out that keep us bound in certain situations? So I really wanted to tackle tonight, and I'm going to have our speaker tonight speak more on it. And then I'm going to ask some questions in between. And please pose your questions tonight in order for us to have a robust conversation around wealth and mindset. And so the speaker tonight, she has been in the financial industry and she's a certified financial planner. She has over 3 decades of experience. Just so you know, when the World Trade Center, 9/11 is coming up, she was in one of the towers when it came down. So she understands what adversity looks like. Because sometimes we speak to folks and we may sometimes think they can't see me or my situation. But this woman has shown the resolve in her personal and her financial life to be able to spring back from a major thing. She's also a minister, and she's definitely someone that's embedded in sewing back into community. I am privileged and honored. I call her a mentor. So many different areas of my life. I look up to her now. She's someone I can call for different dreams and aspirations. She is big in entrepreneurship, so she's someone I can talk to on so many levels. I wanted to make sure that I didn't just hide her and keep her to myself in this region. I wanted to make sure that my friends, family, and the people that are connecting with me had the opportunity to meet Dr. Nicole Simpson, Reverend Dr. Nicole Simpson, because she is a woman of great wealth and wisdom. And I think she can help us even dispel where we are as far as our understanding of wealth. And so without further ado, I want to make sure I give her enough time and give you enough time to ask questions. I'm going to turn things over at this time and introduce our guest, Reverend Dr. Nicole Simpson, to take the floor.
Wow. Thank you, Michelle, even for this privilege to have conversation, not only with you, but those that you love. And to all of you that took your time out this evening to join us in this candid conversation about wealth and wealth mindset. I want to start off by saying, if you and your friends are not talking about money, you need new friends. So Michelle has been a very good friend to each of you to ensure that we all become financially free together. And it is a way that gives us the ability to expand our way of thinking. Oftentimes, we find ourselves trying to navigate through the complexities of finances when our expertise is in a different area. So I'm here to help you, and you have a great friend. I want to begin by really just dissecting what wealth mindset really is overall, because it is your way of thinking about not only finances. Oftentimes people will make it about dollars and cents. If I get X amount of dollars, then I find myself in a different positioning. But the truth of the matter is, wealth mindset is your way and belief in regards to money and your ability to enjoy life as you see fit. And so my lifestyle, my economic lifestyle may not look the same as yours, but do I have the ability to do the things that I desire to do? Am I enjoying family and friends and loved ones? Am I really, taking a bite out of life and just having, the comfortability of not having the stress and the anxiety that I'm going to outlive my money? And so wherever you land in a wealth mindset is critically up to you. It cannot be defined by what someone else is doing down the block and around the corner. You cannot either define it by the fact that you make maybe $250,000 and someone else makes $60,000, but they're living a better lifestyle than you are, because in your $250,000, you're spending $300,000 each year. But that $60,000 individual is spending $50,000 a year, and they're going to bode well over the long term. I think it's important for us to realize also that we're in a position right now where if we have our mindset together, and I think that we are all more cognizant, especially after the impact of COVID-19, of where we're standing financially. One of the beautiful things about all that has happened in the devastating moment is that people began to really reflect upon what is truly important to me. What is important for my family? How do I ensure that under every and any situation, we're going to be all right? So tonight, my aim is to do this. It's to give you the necessary tools and strategies, and really strongly suggest after 30 years and as a financial advisor, 20 years as a CFP practitioner with a CFP designation. If you do what I say, you will be all right. I think I want you to walk away with some deliverables, and that will help each and every one of you. It'll help you in the area of recognizing, regardless of where it is I'm standing, I have the ability to ensure that I shore up my financial picture. So I want to start off with where we're standing in America overall, and how we got to this point. One of the things that happened, and I am a student of history, I love history. I think it's important to know where it is that you came from so that you can, determine where it is that you're looking to go. And so when we look at minorities, Black and brown bodies, we look at where it is that we have come from and where we're standing today. The truth is that the wealth equity gap is larger today than it was even in the 90s and the 80s. It has continued to expand. And one of the things that I wanted to take a look at, even in my studies overall, is how did this happen? We thought that at the end of the civil rights movement that we had space and opportunity. And let me give you my perspective of what transpired then. In the quest during the civil rights movement to fight for equality, we settled not for equality, we settled for our ability to provide them with our resources. And so prior to that period of time, segregation was the one thing that kept us in a position where we were entrepreneurs and we were experts in our own field. So we became subject matter experts in our communities. If you're familiar with Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921, we understand that there were doctors and lawyers and teachers, their own school board, their systems, and they had their own theaters, they had their own hospitals, they had their own resources, and the dollar stayed within the community. When we began to fight for economic justice, which our Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was at the forefront of that particular cause in his quest, in his fight. We landed on desegregation. We did not necessarily make it all the way to equality. What is the difference? Desegregation meant that we can now go into the big chains and spend our money there, which means it was taking money out of our community, and more individuals, now that they can go get these corporate jobs, began to get a higher education, and we would load ourselves up with debt, and then we'd go give the stores of our desires, becoming consumers, not entrepreneurs. We would give them our money. And so the rich were getting richer, and the culture did not look like our culture, and we were losing out. But long gone are the days where you give a company 25 to 30 years, walk away with a watch, because they're not even giving you, defined pension plans any longer. It is really up to all of us as individuals to begin to save on our own. So pensions have gone out of the way, and we found ourselves loaded with whether it be household debt because we did manage to purchase a home, or it be with student debt because we wanted the same opportunities that others had. We found ourselves not really properly positioned because we missed a critical component, which is the entrepreneurship aspect. One of the things that I wanted to ensure that we understood is that even in the midst of doing that, while working for corporate America, we were not taking advantage of all of the benefits that were available to them, because at the same time, many of us were gun shy against what we perceived to be the stock market. There was a leeriness, and it's understandable, because in two particular areas that we would jump into first, we were being taken advantage of, we were being targeted, and we were being financially, literally raped. One of those areas is in housing, where we would get charged a larger amount to purchase, houses than other individuals. We would be steered in directions that were not beneficial or advantageous toward us, until it made us become leery of those things. The other area was in insurance. For a long period of time, the insurance rates that were given to African Americans and minorities was disparate compared to white Americans, because they were saying that we were a greater physical risk. And so you may be familiar, your grandparents may have had the insurance agent that would come and knock on the door and collect money for insurance policies, that when grandma passed away, eventually you found out that she didn't have what you thought that she had. And so a lot of what needed to happen in terms of education, with all of these roadblocks and obstacles laid before us, caused us to miss out on multiple opportunities that allow us the financial freedom. The beautiful thing is, in my opinion, that began to shift, believe it or not, I believe, with the turn of the hip hop generation, where young Black men and women were not waiting for permission to acquire wealth or to get things that would be economically feasible. They said they desired the same thing. They may not have been steered in the right direction in terms of resources, but the ability to earn and the entrepreneurial mindset began to be reintroduced overall. What does this have to do with a wealth mindset? It had all to do with the fact that they saw themselves differently than where their present conditioning was. And so they saw themselves out of their current situation of being in the hood or in the rural area. They saw their lives being better than what they were experiencing in their childhood. And they did whatever it is necessary in order to ensure that they had the ability to do that. So in the very beginning of recognizing what mindset is, we must understand the history. Now we find ourselves in a place, and referencing COVID-19 a moment ago, we find ourselves in a place where space and opportunity gives us a chance to acquire wealth in a way that we had not really considered in the past. COVID-19 sat everybody down. And when it sat everybody down, we began to realize that the disparity still economically, but something had shifted. What had shifted was that as a culture and a community, we're far more educated than we were before. As a community, we had more individuals that were entrenched in, places in vocation and in employment and in different industries higher up in the echelons than we had been historically. And while we were being impacted by the effects of COVID-19, those that were on the lowest of levels found themselves, if they were unemployed, for the first time making more money at home than they did going to work from day to day. That was the first advantage or opportunity in order for mindset to change and the shifting of one's way of thinking. The second thing that transpired is individuals decided, I'm not going back to where it is I came from, because they wanted things done in their lives. I'm so proud of us as a community, because many people began to improve in their education or shift vocations overall. All of these things led us to this moment that we find ourselves now. As this society is opening back up again, individuals are beginning to demand more. Of course, it also had things to do with the social unrest that we have, which is leading to economic opportunities for us as well. But what began to change, transpire, is people began to think differently about, how do I protect myself and my family? How do I begin to build so that I am not in a position of lack and losing? And when they watched the market go all the way down and then go all the way back up, we saw that the recovery was what people deemed to be a K-shaped recovery. The wealthy were getting wealthier and the poor were getting poorer. If you had a position, if you had a job, you had an opportunity. If you were getting unemployment, you had an opportunity to have things be different in your life. Not only during this period of time of being home, having more money come in for many individuals, we also found ourselves spending less. Some of the expenses went up, but most of the expenses were eradicated, so much so that America has saved a little over $2 trillion in local banking in today's day and age. And minorities have been one of the largest consumers overall. So we know that we now are sitting on money that we probably never sat on beforehand. The other advantage in this shifting and this opportunity to have things be different in our life is this. With the American Recovery Act, for those of you that are parents of young children, you just found out on July 15th that the government is giving you additional resources if you make under $75,000 as single parent or head of household. And if you're married and you're making under 150,000, those are the rough estimates based off of how many children that you have, you're now receiving for at least the next 6 months X amount of dollars, $300 if you have a child under the age of 6, $250 for a child age 6, and between 6 and the age of 17 between now and December 2021. This is money that is coming in that allows you to change the course or the trajectory of your life. Let me use as an example, or as a model, someone that has two children, meaning one child being under the age of 6 and another child being over the age of 6. You now have $550 that's coming into your household that's different than. For those of you that are earning more than that, just give me a moment to address this so that everyone is able to see each of us, regardless of where our socioeconomic status is, each of us have an opportunity to advance the needle in our financial positioning where it is that we find ourselves. Before, you didn't have $550 coming in on average for that sample family of a parent with 2 children or a married couple with 2 children. Now you do. How do I set a financial foundation that allows me to incrementally save or incrementally find myself getting on a stronger financial position? That, Michelle, is where ditch the debt and collect the coins comes from. This is a chance for you to make a determination of where you're standing financially, assess what is mandatory expenses, and see, where am I trying to go? Where do I want to lead my family financially? What are the goals that I want to achieve? I got these resources coming in. The life and the world has changed as we know it. What can I do differently that will allow me to be in a stronger financial position? Now, mind you, notice that I said that we have this until December 31st, 2021. The reason why that's important is because when we look at where we're standing in the immediate, in the right now, with the goal or the desire of having change happen instantaneously, we never get where it is we're trying to go. Because oftentimes we get so overwhelmed with our positioning that many people are immobilized by what is that needs to be done. One of the things that I can tell individuals all the time is, let's give ourselves a year first to get here. That's my first suggestion for most individuals, because I want you to have the pressure taken off of you to think, I got to do all of this today. But if we adopt the slow and steady methodology, then we'll find ourselves checking off things and accomplishing financial goals and objectives that we had without it overwhelming us into inaction. Now is not the time nor the season for inaction in our lives. Couple that with, for those of you that were still working all throughout the pandemic, or you found yourself in a position that you're fortunate enough to have a job, or you make more than $150,000, you began to realize, I have an opportunity because most of you had to work from home. I see that there's more money in my bottom line. Let me shift and reallocate things so that my savings can be improved upon, so that I can ensure that my financial positioning is different. Because people around you were dying. And you began to think, all of us did, began to think, if that were me, if I caught COVID, where would my family be? That's a changing of a mindset that makes you begin to focus on what you don't want to have happen financially in your life. God forbid, should the inevitable come knocking at your door. And you were able to think, what's important to me? Once we get there, then we're in a great place to create the financial agenda to help us achieve those things that are most important to us. Michelle, I see you took your phone off of mute. You have a question?
Yeah. So Dr. Nicole, you said a few things I kind of just want to expand upon a little bit. You mentioned opportunity a few times. And so I think it goes back to that mindset, because we all can be receiving those credits, or we all can be in a position to receive that, those benefits that you mentioned. But even as you did my assessment, I'm very transparent, people, so I have no problems with sharing a little bit about me. One of the things that, when it came to my husband and I assessment, we were cash poor. So although we had purchased property and did some other stuff, we were cash poor. So considering like the retirement plan, considering certain things that we wanted to do in life, considering the quality of life we wanted to have, we had not put the right plan in place to be able to put ourselves in position to take advantage of opportunity.
Right.
And so we had to reassess. So when I think of mindset, when you look at what does a healthy mindset look like in order to take advantage of opportunity? What does that look like with the many folks that you worked with over the years?
So if you remember, Michelle, one of the first things that I asked you and Cliff when we sat down is, if money were not an issue, what would you be doing with your life? Right? So that you can begin to think about, what would life look like if I'm not dictating, my life and my time is not dictated by the fact that I have to work? What would you be doing with your life if money were not an issue? If we took that off the table for a moment, where would your mind wander? Those are the things that become opportunistic by happenstance. There are people that will want to serve. There are people that will want to address their own business. So it is predicated, as a financial practitioner, it's predicated upon what you say your desire is. What I give people an opportunity to do is to dream about what is possible if I don't have to go to work every day from 9 to 5. Because my way of shifting your mindset is to say, so why is this completely off the table because you have to go to work 9 to 5? How do we infuse what it is that you would want to do if money wasn't an objection on the primary motivator for you going to work? How do we collaborate with what you desire to do and what you may feel like you must do in the right now? How do we make both of them work? And strategy is developed after you can identify what is it that you really want. Until people can have the permission to dream about what is aspirational for them. And it looks different for all individuals. And so then my conversation with somebody, is to say, so if I told you that this was possible, how much would you want to pursue it? Like, let's just take everything off the table. We're not talking about money now, but this is possible. It might take you 5 years. It might take you 10 years. It might take you until retirement. But if we can achieve what you say that you want, is that something you would be interested in? And when you can get someone excited about what it is that they know that they want to do, the nagging in the back of their minds, like, I wish I can do this. I want to do this. My desire is to do this. The dreams, the goals, and the aspirations that individuals put down because they think that it's impossible for them to do. I am encouraging individuals to start those things back up, because the goal, when you can have that as a part of your future, as a part of your vision, your mind begins to shift to, how do I make that happen? This woman then came in and said, this is possible. So what is it going to take for me to make sure that I can have what it is that I desire? See, that had nothing to do with money.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you did for Cliff and I, you became an accountability partner. And then by you asking that question and us now formalizing that question into a figure.
That's right.
Right? You gave us a figure. So no longer is it just our imagination. This is the dollar amount that we need to be able to live out our dream.
Yep.
So when you did that, our jobs didn't change. What we did, we were able to go deeper and find within what we already had, what did we have to fund the dream? Because once you have a figure and you have accountability, it helps you to be able to shift direction. And many times it will have to require you to shift your thinking, because there's certain things that will no longer be priority. And so that's what you did.
That's an excellent point. So there are two things that are taken off of the table almost instantaneously: the time in which you want to achieve that particular goal, and what is it that you have to do in order to get there. Because our job from an accountability perspective, those that are, that are dealing with financial mindset, is I want you to see this happening in your life. My job is to say the how much and by when. And after conversation and assessment, right? Assessment has to happen for anyone that is committed to a wealth mindset. You must see where our starting point is. So let me be very crystal clear. We don't have, an imaginary vision board that we create. We start from the heart, tangible reality of where it is that you're standing. And then we work with what you already have. And so tell me what I'm working with. And then let me tell you and show you how we can achieve the goals that are necessary. For some individuals, it may take your belief in the fact that you may have to change your positioning on your job. For other individuals, it's a just do it now. Let me show you. If you opened up this business while you're working, and I can get you to get 1099 income and a Schedule C while you're working. Even if you don't make any money in your business, I can show you how to take advantage of the tax strategies that this country, which is predicated upon small business ownership, the tax code and tax system is advantageous to individuals that will establish their own business. It does not mean you have to have your own business or work a W-2 income. If I showed you how to combine that together so that your net amount of resources available to you and your family become more fluid, then what we're doing is we're helping you, one, work toward achieving your goal, but two, we're also putting into position opportunity for you to begin to save and invest and ensure that your future is being taken care of. I'm gonna pause here for a moment, Michelle, because I want people to really understand this. If you understand the tax system as it's designed in the United States, if every individual in here, I am a pastor. She mentioned that I'm a pastor. So I believe in scripture. Everyone has at least one gift, right? Some have two, some have five. You can double it, but everybody has at least one gift. Tell me what your gift is, and I'll tell you how to monetize it. But I'm gonna tell you how to monetize it, not in the fact that you might make millions and billions of dollars, but if I can show you how your gift can bring you in an additional $1,000 a month, either in tax savings or in income, would that pique your interest? Now you're doing what it is that you love to do. It's your gift and you are very good at it, but now it's making money for you or reducing your tax liability or increasing your level of your lifestyle or your way of living. Perfect example. If you have a home-based business, this is not for individuals with a brick and mortar, but you have this grand design, you have a business, you have a product, you have a service, you have whatever it is that you so desire. You start your business in your home. Say your home has 4 rooms, right? Living room, dining room, 2 bed, well, more than that, but just let's go with 4 bedrooms to make it easier. And you decide one of those bedrooms is going to be my home office. You turn that into a home office. Let's just say that that home office is 20% of the overall house that you're in. So now that you've established a home-based business, service or product isn't even material in what it is I'm getting ready to tell you. Now, you might be a renter. You might be a homeowner. But if you have this home-based business, this office that is 20% of your business, 20% of what you pay for rent and or mortgage, whichever one it is, then becomes an expense because it's reasonable and customary in your ordinary course of business. That's the same with your gas and electric. Now that's proportionate to the size of the space that you allocate for your home-based business. So I'm gonna make it in dollars and cents so that everybody understands. Your rent is $1,000 for simple math. 20% of that is now an expense. So you're shifting money that you have to pay rent every month, no matter what happens, whether you have a job or not, they're expecting it. But now 20% of that, which is $200, is a tax expense for your business. Same thing, everybody has a cell phone, whether it be a Galaxy or iPhone. Many people are paying $150, $200. If your name is on that cell phone and you use it to operate your business, that's not 20%, that's 100%. And guess what? We all have a cell phone, we all need it, but it's now reasonable and customary in your ordinary course of business. So some of the expenses that you have day in and day out, the things that you utilize, they now become business expenses. So you have children. I am a financial advisor by vocation, right? And I'm a pastor. I also had children when I started my business. If I have cable, right, I need the internet. My kids might have liked Nickelodeon or, whatever the Toon channels are, the kids channels, but I have to have CNBC. That is reasonable and customary. Do my children get the benefit of watching, whatever channels that they want to watch on it? Absolutely. Do I watch ESPN at nighttime so that I can make sure that I'm watching all of the sports that my heart's desire? Absolutely. But as long as CNBC is on there, it's reasonable and customary in my ordinary course of business. So something that I would have in my house anyway is no longer a luxury. It's a necessary for me to operate my business. So you have that, you have expenses that are associated with your car. Every time I go out to dinner, I have two businesses. I hate to say one is a business, more like a ministry, but in the eyes of the IRS, it's a business. I know two things. I know Jesus and I know money. Those are the two things. Every conversation that comes out of my mouth, I'm going to talk about in some capacity at some point in a night at dinner. I'm going to talk about Jesus and I'm going to talk about money. So wherever it is that I go to eat, it doesn't matter. That is a business expense. So we eat real good. Because now it's not me going out having a good time. As long as I have a conversation that's reasonable and customary in the ordinary course of what it is that I do, it then becomes a business expense. So now you may not have even had any money being made from your business yet, but we're already reducing your tax liability, which gives you what? An opportunity to do at least two things. Saving your 401k if you've not saved anywhere else. So now your mindset, your money mindset is shifting and you're starting to save. Get your insurance through your job. If you've done nothing else, now you're positioning your family to be in a better financial position overall. The fact that we're on Zoom tonight, right? Ladies, you can identify with this. Gentlemen, you too, to some capacity. Every time I got to get my hair done, whatever clothes that I may have on, because I am a public speaker in some capacity, what I would normally have to get, because I have a public persona, what happens is what I would like to purchase anyway now becomes reasonable and customary in my ordinary course of business. Now, I can't write off my clothes if I have a landscaping business. I need you to understand that according to, which is very flexible, the IRS tax code, it has to be in your ordinary course of business. When we begin to take advantage of the laws that allow the Jeff Bezos of the world not to pay taxes, we will find our financial positioning strengthening so that we have the ability to build. And then entrepreneurship gives us a way of creating greater revenue to change or shift where our family can be.
Dr. Nicole, I thank you so much for this conversation. I'm sure it's very enlightening to some folks. I know people on this call that have businesses or may not be leveraging it to that level, understanding the benefits tax-wise that they could take advantage of as they look to build their own wealth in their homes. Can you do me this favor? I know you have your Financial Fit Bootcamp coming up. You're offering it free to folks all throughout the month of September, leading into the first week of October. We're going to share the flyer as well on our platforms, but I know September 13th, September 20th, the 27th, and then October 4th. You are going to be hosting free financial boot camps for anyone that would like to attend. Can you tell our audience what they can expect through these boot camps?
Yes. So it's called the Financially Fit Bootcamp. I really want us all to be financially free. As I indicated, I believe that this is the greatest period of time to accumulate and acquire wealth, but we've got to be properly positioned. Scripture says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So I'm going to take you through 4 critical areas that will undoubtedly ensure that you have the ability to be financially free. So the first week, we're talking about ditch the debt and clean your credit. And so, who you are from a credit worthiness perspective, it really defines what you can have in life overall. But you might have gotten into debt very quickly. It may take you some time to get out of it. And so my conversation on that day is to help you to figure out how to set up looking at what debt that you have, not being overwhelmed by it, but tackling it one step at a time. For example, just to give you a small tidbit in that regard, individuals often like to go from the largest balance down to the smallest balance. That's not advantageous for individuals. What you ought to do always is look at the interest rate that you're paying on your debt and begin to tackle it from that perspective. And that is, if those individuals are really trying to get to having no debt or minimal debt, you've got to identify what good debt is versus what bad debt is. So we consider credit card debt to be bad debt overall, and debt that is high. So lending institutions, store cards, and things of that nature. You want to look at what you're paying 23, 24, 25% interest on, and you want to tackle paying those off first. And for those individuals that may have debt where you have this on your credit report, it's not a credit card that you use. I want you to go in, and I'm going to show people how to begin cleaning it by negotiation. You cannot avoid the creditors. It will not go away that way. And I'll also explain when creditors can financially come after your banking institution. So if you're in that position and you've got liens and judgments and things of that nature, the worst thing that could happen is if the creditors figure out you got this money coming in for the next 6 months on the 15th of each month, and then on the 16th, they put a levy against your account and take the money that you thought would help you, but they've taken it because you've not addressed being able to ditch your debt. The collecting of the coins is how do I begin to start saving even now? While I'm trying to clean all of this up, what avenues do I have that will allow me to do that? So cleaning up the credit and collecting coins is do both at the same time, not an either or. And sometimes we need people to help us point out the roadmap to get us there. So that's the first week, and I think that that's important. The second week is laying the financial foundation that's fit for you. An assessment of where you're standing financially. What is it that I can do? Where is it that I'm trying to go? How can I get started? I liken that to the tortoise and the hare. The slow and steady wins the race. I don't care what career that you're in. I don't care how much money that you earn. Systematic investing and saving will get you to a place of achieving the goals that you set for yourself, even if we start off slow and we stagger our way up. Many individuals do not know because they're unaware of what's available to them outside of saving in their retirement vehicles, where we leverage, what the employer may offer or extend to you. People can begin to invest with as little as $25 a month. The younger you are, the better off if you've got to start off with that small dollar amount. But when you're starting off $25, $50 a month, you're proud of yourself when you get to certain thresholds. And we want to say what makes sense for you for where you're standing in your life right now. We don't limit it to that. We also look at where can we improve our financial ability to earn. Here's the thing that I tell individuals, and this one, ladies, is for you. I'm so grateful that we have a few men on the line today, but hear me very clearly. Men, if you agree or disagree, go ahead and you can put a reaction in. This is an interesting thing that I have observed over the years. When we look at a typical job description, especially for Black women, right? If it has 10 pointers on there, Black women, we think we need all 10 before we apply for the position. And then we have to say, what are the other 2 or 3 things that they're asking us for that is not a part of the job description before we would even attempt to go for the job? A man looks at it, he sees 3 or 4 items out of the 10 that they're looking for and is like, this job's for me. You want to talk about mindset, Michelle? I want to shift mindset to say you can go for that position. You can improve your financial status and where it is that you're earning. You're taking yourself out of the game. You cannot win if you do not get in and play. That's just the way that it is. In anything in life, you've got to partake. I will tell you, you'll lose every day, all day when you don't go in. But you could win if you got in the game. There's the possibility of you winning. So how do we do that? How do we leverage, even if you worked at Burger King? How do we transfer what you did at Burger King to to language that's more attractive for corporate America with benefits, whatever it looks like for you? And so and we'll tackle that in the second week. The third week, I think, is very important because this is where most people get started. It's leveraging your workplace benefits versus your financial plan. Many of us, when we get our first job, first thing that we look at is, well, I need all my money. So I'm not doing none of this that they're offering us. They may turn around and get health benefits. If you're married, you'll look at yours, you'll look at your spouse's, who's giving the better benefits. Some define it by the cheaper benefits. That is not always wise. Who's giving the better benefits, but how do we leverage our workplace benefits versus what it is that we want to achieve financially over time in our lives? Most of us feel like we're overworked and underpaid. And so if that be the case, are you at least maxing out on your 401k? Do you even know what that means? Do you have a profit sharing? Do they share in their profits with you? But you're not even set up in your 401k, so you won't even be a partaker. What does your employer offer to you in terms of life insurance? Do they allow you to purchase additional insurance? These are questions that people didn't oftentimes ask when they were just starting out. What about disability? No one thinks that they're going to get hurt. But COVID-19 has shown us that many people are so glad that they paid that extra $3 for long-term and short-term disability that's on their job. So leveraging your workplace benefits with your particular plan. This is all your own financial fitness, which means your regimen doesn't have to be someone else's regimen. Your plan doesn't have to be your plan. Your training, I'm using that type of language, doesn't have to be someone else's training. You're going to do what's most comfortable for you. And those are the tools. The last week is near and dear to my heart because one thing that I think people do not understand is that the market 100% of the time has always recovered. I'm gonna say that again. The stock market 100% of the time has always recovered. It is the investment that you can make outside of Jesus that no matter when you jumped in at the high of the market, at whatever interval in your lifetime, you have recovered from any bad market overall. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've had 3 recessions. Wealth is acquired during a recessionary period. Those individuals that are committed to enter into the market systematically have bowled well over time. Those people that have entered into the market when the market was low and everybody else was jumping out. It is unfortunate, but a very real measurement. And I'm trying to change the mindset of individuals in this regard, that when Black people start investing, that's the top of the market, get out. And so then what Black people then do is get nervous because the market is going down. And then when they start seeing Black people liquidate, they start jumping back in. I want you to understand that the stock market, when you understand it, the basic principles of the market, how it works, that you will become more comfortable with your overall investment strategy so that you are prepared for short-term movement, moderate term movement, but we're doing this for the long haul. So that's what you're going to get out of the Financially Fit Bootcamp. I'm excited about it, overall, and I anticipate that when people come out on the other side, they will be well positioned to be financially free, whatever that looks like for them and their family.
I'm extremely excited. I'm looking forward to our follow-up because there's a lot, you said tonight, that I realized even as I'm preparing, because I have an extension on my taxes that I'm preparing for, that I need to make sure that I maximize.
Right.
I hope this session, because we're about to come to a close, are there any questions? Don't be bashful. Are there any questions that you would like answered so that we can take you off mute? If you raise your hand, we can take you off mute so that you may ask your question. But this is an opportunity, and the free Financial Fit Bootcamp that's coming up. These are the opportunities, again, that we only benefit from when we maximize. So any questions tonight? Or you can, probably text me when I get off the line, but any questions tonight while we're Everyone got it? Everyone feeling good about what they heard tonight? Anyone considering making sure they join the boot camp? I think Michelle just took herself off mute. Pastor Michelle?
Hi, it's me and Pastor Shane. It's me and Pastor Shane.
Hi there.
I don't show my face.
Was there a question
So
you guys
Shane has a question and so do I.
Okay.
So in regards of, I have two questions. Sometimes people have negative inquiries on your credit in regards of settlements. You get those letters in the mail. What is your opinion in regards of paying the settlement or just paying all that you owe is one question.
Okay, so if you have an opportunity to pay the settlement, if you're not looking for the immediate credit boost and you have time. So if I know someone that's looking to purchase a house, right? If you pay the settlement, the negative impact is still going to affect your credit score. If you have time because you want to purchase a house, like maybe in 18 months, then let me rephrase that. Because I said pay the settlement. If you know you want, oh, okay, I did say it right. If you know that you want to purchase a house in 18 months or what have you, and you have the chance for your credit score to go up incrementally and it be appropriate when you hit the 18 months, then pay the settlement the lesser dollar amount. If you're looking for an immediate credit boost and it taken off right away where you're negotiating that they will say pay clear and debt wiped out, then you may wind up paying a larger dollar amount in order to make that happen. So for me, it is predicated upon what am I looking to do in the future? If I want a major purchase that is credit credit sensitive, then that's going to make the determination as to how to pay. The one area that I oftentimes, just in my practice, oftentimes do not do is help people clean up credit. I do send individuals with that. They would be better able to tell you what makes sense for you personally, but that's the rule of thumb.
I can actually interject too. So if you're considering the settlement or the full amount, in the case that you already, so say you were buying a house, right? But you already have the credit rating in order for a good approval, you don't have to pay the full amount. A settlement is sufficient for you to proceed. So again, it's always looking at the whole. Another thing I tell people to do, if you're paying a settlement, but you also do not have other obligations on your credit report. So say you really don't have any credit history. All you have is things that already went to collection or charge off. This is a good time to open up secured line of credit. If you open up a secured loan, I use the secured loan to then settle the debt. So then I'm using the same money I was going to use to settle the account. I used it now to reestablish credit. So I killed two birds with one stone. I reestablished myself by presenting now good credit. And then those same funds, I turned around and used that card or that loan to pay the settlement or pay a portion of it.
The one thing that Michelle said that you have to iterate and really understand is that if your credit score allowed you to get to the position of buying the house, then you don't have to pay it off in full. So you want to keep as much resources as possible because your credit score did not impact your ability to purchase that house. So when you're looking to, to have a large purchase, so it doesn't even have to be a house, it could be a car or something of that nature. You want to make sure that you're taking that into consideration. Hopefully that was helpful.
It was, thank you.
I have a quick question. This is Candy Hall. I'm here with my husband, Dennis.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
And I have on my credit report, I have closed accounts. I have two, or actually I have a couple from the U.S. Department of Education. It says closed. Does that mean that I don't have to pay this back? Or
did you pay it off? Did you have an agreement with them?
I don't, not yet. I'm on the verge of calling.
I would make a soft inquiry first before I go tampering with, it really depends on what is it that you're looking to do. But I would make a soft inquiry because you don't want at the time of looking to purchase, a major item for them to come back and say, hey, student debt doesn't oftentimes affect you negatively from a credit score where they're impacting you. You have a large amount there from the time that it hits up, even if you're in, if you're in an agreement or in default, or even where you like now they put a pause on it. It doesn't necessarily negatively impact your credit as detrimentally as other things, babe.
So let me say this. So when they put the account closed, but there's a balance due,
Yes.
they may stop reporting it on your credit report. So you think you're all good. But what happens is when you go to buy a home or do any kind of, you want to go back to school or you do anything that's government backed, what happens then is they have a report that blocks you. So what it'll do is you don't see it on your credit report, but you're on a list that we check. Once I check that list, if you owe $10,000, you would have been in position if you had called and contacted them, like Dr. Nicole mentioned before about, being proactive with your creditors. If you had been proactive, you may have paid back $25 a month and would have been in good standing. But because now you're in the process, say, of buying a home or buying a car, or whatever you're doing that's government related or credit related, you're going to be in a position that now you got to pay the full thing at that time because the steps needed to be taken to get you into arrangement to address the debt. So it looks like you're free, but not.
Make
Thank
this
you.
agree. And just be cognizant of it. They'll get you at the time where you're trying to achieve something or make a major milestone purchase.
Yep.
And this thing will frustrate you. So make sure you do a soft inquiry.
Yep. And Michelle,
Thank
do
you.
you have a second question? Because I think you said you had two questions. I know you asked one. Or was it
Yeah,
Pastor?
I had a question.
Yes.
Hey, how are you doing? So my question was, you talked about stocks and bonds. Will you also be discussing other types of investments or other types of things like, residual income or investments in intellectual property and things like that? So for instance, let's say, we come into money that we didn't really plan on, and we don't really need it. Are there other things we can do besides stocks and bonds that could help that money go to work? Whether we're looking for a short-term, return that we can reinvest in something else, or we're willing to have, a long-term gain.
So I would tell any individuals, there are two things that I'm going to touch on incrementally all the way throughout. I touched on it a little bit tonight. It has to do with the first one is entrepreneurship. I'm related in entrepreneurship endeavors. And so that may even be real estate. Angels have been invested into other people's businesses or what have you, which may be an option for individuals. But secondarily to what we'll talk about in terms of garnering income, I'm going to limit it to the basics of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and real estate investing for those individuals that desire to have rental income as a part of their overall income. Intellectual property and things of that nature, that will come and be touched upon in the scope of entrepreneurship. Like, if someone asks questions, and I will be led by what the student body is asking at the time. If they're asking questions and they want me to hone in on something that is of a greater interest to the class, then I'm always going to be willing to answer it. That would go probably a little beyond the scope of. And finally, if someone came into a pool of money, the place that I would not get that advice from is a school or a camp or anything of that nature. I would suggest that you sit with someone and see what they would do for you specifically. That's what I would tell all the individuals. I also want to take the stigma away from anyone that's saying, I need to get myself together in order to sit with an advisor. And that really does that's one of the biggest tools of procrastination that people utilize all the time. If you're in a place where you want your financial life to be different, make the phone call to someone and see what it is that they will offer to you. Michelle can attest to this. When I do forums and platforms like this, I offer to everyone a free financial planning consultation. The reason why I do that is because it's unfortunate, but there's about 10 to 15 people on this Zoom call now. Maybe 3 or 4 individuals will take me up on it. And what that does is that becomes manageable for any advisor. I wish that our statistics were larger, but they're not. And so when you can sit down with someone about your situation personally, at no cost to you with your list of questions. I always suggest that people take advantage of it. You don't have to wait in order to have dialogue or conversations with individuals about getting your financial freedom in order.
We have two questions, Dr. Nicole, from Facebook.
Okay.
One question, how can you invest in the stock market? And what percentage of your income should be in savings?
So the first one, how can you invest in the stock market? Well, it's to just get started. You need to really determine where you're standing. I'm not going to tell somebody, oh, you should do stocks, bonds, mutual funds. If I were giving a general perspective, first thing that I would tell individuals to do is start through your job. If you're working, go to your 401k, start with mutual funds. It offers you the greater level of diversification. What your risk tolerance would be, you would have to assess that. And that means you'd have to see what can make me sleep at night, what's going to make me lose sleep. And that's where we will begin. If you are young, you're like, I don't want to lose any money. I'm going to have a conversation with you, Paul. Let's sit down. You're not touching this for X amount of years. This is what we need to do. That's where the advice of someone with expertise comes in. If you are already doing it on your job or what have you, then I would start with mutual funds after tax dollars. So I would do pre-tax dollars on my job. That's the best way to get started. I would then do mutual funds with after tax dollars. And that's the secondary way. If you're young, growth funds is where it's at. I mean, you can pick one of the national ones and you'll be all right, but you want to make sure that you're doing that. Then I would consider to look at looking at if someone really wants to get involved in stocks. Personally, I do not invest in stocks for my clients unless they're a managed account, because the only person that makes money in buying stocks and bonds through me is me. Because you probably will not be buying thousands of shares, you might buy hundreds of shares. And by the time I finish getting paid commissions, which we don't even do those things anymore, it does not make economic sense. What I suggest to all of my clients is what I do myself. I have my own, whether you use E-Trade or Charles Schwab, and what people are able to do. And I have conversations with my clients about the stocks that they have, and those people can get started with stock slices now, which allows you to buy fractions or portional shares of stocks and companies that you really want to get involved in or you want to begin to follow. So the way that one would do it is, I like to ensure that your financial stability is intact, or your financial plan is being addressed first, making sure that you're responsibly investing before you even get into individual stocks, because there is a greater level of risk in purchasing individual stocks than purchasing mutual funds. So I don't want to see individuals taking $100 a paycheck and buying individual stocks and they have no mutual funds. So, there's got to be a balance, especially for a novice or a new investor. So,
can you clarify what a mutual fund is?
Okay, a mutual fund is a basket of stocks and or bonds designed with a particular strategy in mind. So, perfect example, you put your money in Nike. You expect individuals to purchase Nike. We know the company, we know the brand overall. If you put your $500 in Nike, you need Nike, the company, to do well in order for you to make money. If you purchase in a mutual fund, the mutual fund may have Nike, Amazon, Target, it may have Walmart in it, it may have General Electric in it, it may have PepsiCo, because their growth, their strategy is growth. So now, if Nike does bad in the mutual fund, but Target and Pepsi do well, it minimizes the impact that the loss that Nike may take. And so the mutual fund is diversified and your money is better leveraged for an opportunity for growth, so that you're not putting all of your eggs in one individual company basket, so to speak. You're leveraging the risk out for a total growth, with a desire to have a high, a rate of return. So while a stock can give you a higher greater rate of return or make you lose money on the downside, a mutual fund leverages it over time. So one company doing or performing poorly in the midst of multiple companies will not negatively affect you as much as you just having that one stock. So when you're starting off with mutual fund, it's a basket of stocks and or bonds designed for the smaller investor. That's the definition of it. And so, you know, when you're putting your resources into play, that is probably the first place where I would put it.
Awesome. And then there was a question on the percentage of savings, how much of your income?
So originally, I wrote, my first book is titled Planning for a Reason, a Season, and a Lifetime, right? So in that book, because I want to be mindful of what I've said in the past, right? I subscribe to the 10-10-80 method. 10 to God, 10 to self, 80% to everyone else. I've amended that just a little bit. God still gets his 10. But if I'm going to make an investment, I'm going to make the greatest investment in me. It should be at minimal 10%. But that's where you have the ability to see, you know, can I become an entrepreneur? Do I make the short-term investment into me and a business versus stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, or my 401k? And so we can move around or be flexible with that 10%. But in a to start, you want to go with 10%. I like to think that somewhere along the 15 to 17% threshold is probably a good landing spot for individuals that really are serious about being financially free. And this is how I would do it, just so that you'll know. Look at where your company is, right? So if your company offers you dollar for dollar up to 6% at immediately, you do the 6%, because now you're doing 6% and your company is matching you 6%. Whether you put the money in there or not, that's 12% being allocated towards savings of what your net income is. You see how that just worked already? You just went from 6% out of pocket for yourself. The company just gave you 6%. You're at 12%. So now I have 4% to work on my business per se, right? So I'm thinking from my dollar amount, an additional 4% will finance or fund whatever my goals, dreams, visions, or whatever it is are overall, or whatever the needs are from the financial planning that I do. But in actuality, I've done 10%, but I've got 16% going towards savings. Did y'all see how that worked?
Absolutely. And so it sounds like a great idea would be to contact your HR or your 401k department with your work and see what benefits you have with the plan to make sure you're maximizing those benefits.
Absolutely. That's the first thing. And some people may do, because the financial devastation of 2008, it really impacted major corporations. Many people that were doing dollar for dollar up to 6%, they've shaved it. They may now do, 50 cents on the dollar up to 6%. They may do, 25% of, they may just do profit sharing overall. So you really want to see what the new language is. That is really pre-2007, 2008, where that was kind of a standard. It's no longer that way any longer. It has shifted over time. So you do want to go and see what your company is offering.
Well, Dr. Nicole, I just want to say this has been an amazing conversation. You'll be hearing from me because I have some things I want to kind of clear up personally with you. I hope everyone was blessed by all that was shared tonight. I hope you're looking forward to and will mark your calendars for the upcoming Financially Fit boot camps. Knowledge is power, especially when it is exercised. So hoping that you all will take advantage of this opportunity. I'm definitely someone, if you see that I'm sharing this information broadly, is because I'm someone that believe in, as I'm being blessed by information I'm gaining, I believe in the power of blessed to be a blessing. And so I'm hoping that we all rise together, and it starts here by building the foundations, thinking, shifting our mindset, understanding where we've been, because that's what 2020 did for me. I'm like, man, I really had a poverty mindset. I just couldn't see myself putting more away or finding the liquid assets to invest or doing certain things that were really needed to birth the dreams and vision that, my husband and I have for our home. So again, thank you for your time tonight. This session will be recorded if you want to revisit it. You will also find that the flyer will be posted for the upcoming sessions. Please feel free to share this information and invite others to the upcoming sessions as well. Have an amazing night. I just want to give a round of applause, and I hear my guest wants to say, but I got to say, give you a round of applause first. I got to give, if everybody, we can give virtual or a loud round of applause to our amazing guest tonight. She was amazing, great information, knowledgeable woman. She is a gift to the kingdom. So we're just grateful for you, Dr. Nicole. Go right ahead.
It's my privilege, but someone asked, can we end in prayer? And I would be remiss as a pastor.
Oh, yes.
We absolutely can end in a word of prayer. So whenever you give me permission, I will end with a word of prayer, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Go right ahead, Pastor.
Gracious and Heavenly Father, certainly we bless you on tonight. I thank you for each one of your sons and your daughters, every family that's represented who have a desire, Lord God, to have more, to do better, Lord God, and to be good stewards over what it is that you've entrusted unto them. It is my prayer, Lord God, that they will all assess, evaluate, reflect upon what has transpired, Lord God, so that they can align their lives up. Not only with your word and your will, oh God, but align their lives up financially. We have oftentimes been in bondage, oh God, in our lives because we can't get our finances affairs in order. We oftentimes won't do purpose and destiny and ministry endeavors, Lord God, because our finances are out of whack. But we know, Lord God, if we trust you in the area of this, Lord God, there's so much more that we can be liberated in. So I pray, Lord God, that each person under the sound of my voice will glorify you for where it is that we're standing. Will bless you for where it is that they go, and will seek you for where it is, Lord God, that they will land. I pray, Lord God, that you will bless every dollar, every cent that comes in, and that each of us, Lord God, will have the mind of you. Let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus. Let us observe, Lord God, absorb, Lord God, the information that has been given. Our people perish for lack of knowledge, but now you have exposed us to a more excellent way. Let us apply it, and I know, God, that you will meet them right where they're standing, Lord God, that the dreams, the goals, the objectives that they have can be achieved. You created them with a plan, a purpose in their lives, and this is a critical component for them to fulfill purpose. The Bible reminds us, when we delight ourselves in you, whatever is in our heart, it's already a done data. So we declare it in our lives. Whatever steps, strategies, whatever we must implement in order to make them happen, Father, I pray that there is a commitment to do so in this and in all things. We'll always be careful to give you glory, honor, and praise in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. And I just thank each and every one of you for being a part of this session today. We thank God for the deposit that was made in our lives. I definitely believe that we will find some time to ponder on the word that was shared today. I believe that this is the key to the liberation that we want as a people. This is a liberation that we want as a nation. And may we use the wisdom to leverage every opportunity that God has placed before each and every one of us. Thank you again for your time this evening. Thank you so graciously, our host tonight, Reverend Nicole Simpson. She is amazing. I call on her, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be connected. Thanks again, and have an amazing evening, and look out for more sessions like this to follow.
God bless.
God bless you.